Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this talk organized by MBRAS. Before we start with the seminar proper, I would like to convey, on behalf of MBRAS, convey our condolences to the family of Omar, who had just passed away early this morning. He was, of course, the longest serving IGP in Malaysia from 1974 to 1994. However, what is special is that he had been also a long-time president of MBRAS. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm too young to know which year to which year he was serving. So with that, we will come to the lecture of Ooi. I think all of us know Prof. Ooi, since probably he stays in USM, right? So now
no.
he...
Yeah.
Sorry?
No. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so now at the moment he's attached to Academy of Brunei Studies, University Brunei Darussalam. And and he has published many books, single author or co-edited, or handbooks and so on. I will not bore you by reading through all the titles of books, but just want to say that he is a professor of modern history of Brunei, Borneo, and also he is the visiting professor of Korean Institute of Asian Studies, Busan University of Foreign Studies. So today we are very lucky to have him to share with us about a literary figure, very famous, whose name is Pengiran Indera Mahkota, and it seems that his work, Syair Rakis, is also considered the canon in Brunei literary work. So I don't know much about the history of Brunei literary work, but I look forward to learning from Prof. Ooi. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Professor Ting. Yeah, I used to be at University Science Malaysia, so now I'm at University Brunei Darussalam. And I have been working quite a lot on the big picture, but since the last 2-3 years, I have been looking at the more small picture, meaning more on the local situation, local histories. And presently, I'm in Brunei, and I've been quite sort of indulging in Brunei local history with Kampung Ayer and 19th century, early 20th century Brunei history. So I came about on this particular character, which I have written, well, I must say more than 30 years ago, but on a very cursory level when I was working on my doctoral thesis about James Brooke. And of course, Pengiran Indera Mahkota was definitely one of the characters involved at that time. But I did not go into detail about this particular person, only focusing on Brooke as I was working on Brooke economic policies in Sarawak. So since I'm here in Brunei, I did more research on this fascinating character. Well, after relooking at many of the things, I can say he's a very fascinating personality. And I given more attention to Pengiran Indera Mahkota. And today's talk that I share with you is something very fascinating. And the title is Dual Canonization, meaning of Syair Rakis, which is a poem versus a Malay, traditional Malay verses, the Syair, and of its creator, which is Pengiran Indera Mahkota. So this will be something interesting to me, of course, and this is for me to share with you why dual canonization. So that's me, Academy of Brunei Studies. I've been
Prof,
here since July 2022. Okay.
Prof,
So
would you mind
yes.
projecting the screen so that it's on a PowerPoint mode? Then we can see.
Okay, can I see the PowerPoint? Okay, can you see it?
You could make it bigger by clicking on the.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. So I'm from the Academy of Brunei Studies. Okay. So they're all about Brunei, all aspects, history, international relations, okay, and various other things. I'm based here, affiliated here. So now we come to the introduction or the preamble. I will stick to the basic title. These are actually titles only, okay? Later, he was elevated to Pengiran Shahbandar Mohammad Salleh bin Pengiran Sharmayuda, and he's the person that I just mentioned. But throughout this talk, I will just use Pengiran Indera Mahkota because the titles are all very, very long. So basically, while he was in dire straits, it was, how do you put it? In the political wilderness, he composed the Syair Rakis, or what we call the Rakis Poem. Then upon completion, after finishing it, he presented to his monarch, at that time, Sultan Omar Ali Saifuddin II, and to the Brunei court, for them to ponder, consider, and more importantly, to act on it at an appropriate time in the future. So in that sense, the Syair Rakis is somehow predicting the future. So initially, I wanted to use the word the Nostradamus of Brunei, but I thought it was a bit too presumptuous. Anyway, the Syair Rakis its impact on literature and history, sorry about that, literary importance, as well as on Brunei history. That's why the title as dual canonization of the work, of the poem itself, as well as of its creator. So the Syair Rakis, basically, briefly, it examines the situation. It brings a watershed to the literary works of Brunei, or Malay literary works in Brunei. So that's why I see it and consider it as a national literary work. Hence, its national canonization. Then on Pengiran Indera Mahkota, the composer, I'll talk about his life, his times, and circumstances which brought him to create the poem. And from there, the second canonization is of the creator himself, who, together with his poem, played, well, I can say a pivotal role in Brunei history of late 19th century and early 20th century Brunei historical development. So basically, this is all what the talk will be about. So basically, the first canonization, the nobleman poet, which is about Pengiran Indera Mahkota. Canonization 2, the Syair Rakis itself, some details about the poem itself, and at the end, conclude with of dual canonization. So the nobleman poet, canonization 1, the picture that is of Pengiran Indera Mahkota. As I mentioned, the name or is just titles. Pengiran Indera Mahkota or later Pengiran Shahbandar, which goes very long, is basically titles bestowed on Mohammad Salleh bin Pengiran Sharmayuda. He's a Bruneian Malay, but he was not born in Brunei, but instead he was born in Sambas, which is West Kalimantan. He's of royal blood, both sides. His parents, for example, his mother's side is descended from the Sambas royalty, and from his father's side, he was descended from Sultan Abdul Hakul Mubin of Brunei. So he is actually of royal blood. He spent his boyhood growing up in Sambas, in very luxurious ambience, in a palace, of course. And also because of his background, he was able, unlike others, he was educated in Batavia in the prestigious primary school that was only reserved for Europeans. Batavia is present-day Jakarta. And at that time, it was the headquarters of the Netherlands East India, and it was ruled by the Dutch. So he went to a school which was attended by Dutch children. Apparently, this I need to do more work on it, okay? But he went to the Netherlands to study, probably either The Hague or Amsterdam, and which to a certain extent, it is quite plausible considering his background. And also, as we can see, how worldly he is, and how, in a sense, that he sees the world, his mindset is very different from the other of his contemporaries. So it might not be so impossible that he actually did not go to the Netherlands. He probably went to the Netherlands, but that I have to do more work on it. Because James Brooke himself, among all the others, he made this comment. This was cited in Capital. The Mahkota was the first person to speak to me on the subject of trade. This is a quotation. His education has been more attended to than of others of his rank. He both reads and writes his own language and well acquainted with the government, laws, and customs of Borneo. So Indera Mahkota is actually educated, a very polished gentleman. So the Act 1, the Sarawak episode of Pengiran Indera Mahkota. 1824, he was elevated to the rank, appointed as Raja of Sarawak. Raja simply means governor, okay? A provincial governor of the small fiefdom of Sarawak at that time. It was from the valleys of the Lundu River to the valley of the Sadong River. So it was not the Sarawak of today, of course, but just coinciding with the first division. Okay. From Brooke historians or the so-called court historians, he is quite. They made him the villain of the piece because they are lionizing James Brooke. So of course, Pengiran Indera Mahkota is seen as someone who is not a nice person, an evil person, etc., etc., so that James Brooke becomes more prominent. So if you do read books like Stephen Runciman, the White Rajas, or the others, which are considered as the court historians, which lionize James Brooke, Pengiran Indera Mahkota does not have a very good sort of picture of himself, what they wrote about him. In 1836 to 1841, prior to the coming of James Brooke to Sarawak, there was an anti-Brunei rebellion. And there are two viewpoints on this, which more work could be done. First was Malays and Bidayu mine workers of the antimony mines were ill-treated, according to most historians. Okay, but the other possibility was a Pengiran Usuk royalty who wanted to sort of cede or sell Sarawak to the Samba Sultanate, but he was rejected by his own by the Brunei royalty. And because of that, it seems that he instigated the mine workers to go against the governor, who at that time, of course, is Pengiran Indera Mahkota. So this protracted rebellion was the one that gave the opportunity to James Brooke to come into the picture. So the story goes that upon his first arrival, he got to know Raja Muda Hashim, who was the uncle of the Brunei monarch at that time. And they became quite friends and quite friendly to each other. And on his return journey from Sulawesi or Celebes, James Brooke was given the challenge. If he could put down the rebellion, the Rajaship or the governorship of Sarawak would be given to him. Well, James Brooke managed to suppress the rebellion. And of course, Raja Muda Hashim had to give him the title of Raja of Sarawak, becoming the first white Raja. So, of course, Pengiran Indera Mahkota was outmaneuvered in this situation. He lost his title, and the Englishman, James Brooke, became the Raja of Sarawak. So, Pengiran Indera Mahkota, after that, he left Kuching, and he journeyed eastwards towards the coastal area, and we come to Act 2, which is the Muka episode. Muka is on the coast of Sarawak, where the Malanaus, majority of people are Malanau. And in this place at Muka, Pengiran Indera Mahkota was very depressed, of course. He was off his title, and of course, his dignity and his pride. So he lived very unassumingly and even dropped his honorific or become Pengiran Indera Mahkota. He did not call himself that anymore. And he just simply called himself Dagang, which actually simply means a trader. So he lived very quietly, in Muka. So during this time of what I call in his political wilderness, he still thought of his kingdom, Brunei. And because of his own experience and all very clearly knowing the situation at that time, well, he's being educated and he knows about the situation, he was quite concerned about his sultanate. So being truly nationalistic and patriotic, even in this darkest hour of his, he still thinks of his beloved kingdom, beloved country, especially interacting with foreigners. Now we go to the Act 3 of Brunei episode. Sultan Omar Ali Saifuddin II, which was not that well himself, decided to ask Pengiran Anak Abdul Momin to become the regent. And Pengiran Anak Abdul Momin, who later became Sultan Abdul Momin, decided to recall Pengiran Indera Mahkota from Muka to return home to Brunei. During the journey, during the voyage back to Brunei, that was the time when Pengiran Indera Mahkota thought seriously about writing some work, to do some kind of work, which later became the Syair Rakis. He actually finished it while back in Brunei, and finally in 1847, as was his primary intention, Syair Rakis was gifted to the Sultan as well as to all the nobility of the Bruneian court. So Syair Rakis became very impressive to the extent of the Sultan, Sultan Omar, gave a titah that all administrators, meaning all the noblemen of Brunei, to read Syair Rakis because of its didactic content. And with the ascension of Sultan Abdul Mu'min, who after the passing of Sultan Omar, Pengiran Indera Mahkota was elevated and he was given the title Pengiran Shahbandar Sahibul Bandar. So later he was known as Pengiran Shahbandar Pengiran Mohammad Salleh. And Act 4, which is the Syair Rakis itself. Syair Rakis presented lessons learned from the experiences of others, and Pengiran Indera Mahkota, the composer, wanted to tell Brunei's monarch and the nobleman, his countrymen, to be careful and be prepared against foreigners and against the changing times. The later half of the 19th century are challenging times with a lot of foreigners coming into the Malay world. So he wanted his Brunei countrymen to be ready. So Pengiran Indera Mahkota, because of his education, his interaction with foreigners, etc. So he was very conscious of Western imperialism and colonialism. So what are the agenda when they come to the East? So he's trying to warn his fellow countrymen, especially his monarch, to be very careful. And he already foresaw, which was mentioned in the Syair, that the British in particular were the ones Brunei had to be very wary of. So the cession of Labuan was mentioned in the Syair Rakis in 1846 was a harbinger of more losses in the future. It was like a start, you know. He was very unhappy. Why was Labuan given to the British? So starting with Brooke, which is his personal experience, Pengiran Indera Mahkota foresaw Brunei facing losses of territories in the future. So I will give you the 19th verse and show you one of the things that he lamented of Labuan. Khalifah bertitah sangat majlis, khabar bersahabat dengan Inggris. Tercap surat 12 Rakis dengan Queen perjanjian habis. So this translated is Majesty, you know, about the ceremony, his friendship with the English, an agreement was made, and a treaty was executed with Queen Victoria of Britain. Pulau Labuan diminta segera di sana tempat berkira-kira. Akan jalan tiang bendera dari Sarawak ke Singapura. So he saw Labuan as basically a base for the British to conspire and also to plan their next strategy from their base in Singapore to Sarawak. So now, literally, the British control, they already had Singapore long time ago in 1819. Now they already had Kuching with Raja Brooke, James Brooke, and now with Labuan. Dagang tercenggang mendengarkan kita. Labuan itu bukannya mudah. Hati di dalam sangat gelabah. Alamat negeri di bawah perintah. So he sees this, the loss of Labuan, as an omen that later, in the foreseeable future, foreigners will be controlling his motherland of Brunei. Therefore, the Syair Rakis, in the Syair Rakis, Pengiran Indera Mahkota appealed to his monarch to reform and strengthen the sultanate in the face of changing and challenging times. So he became a reformer. He suggested that they need to reform. Act 5, a fruitless endeavor. As foretold by the poet, sadly, just 1 year later, which is in May 1847, Brunei penned the Anglo-Brunei Treaty of Friendship and Commerce, and that witnessed Brunei's loss of its sovereignty. For Britain needs to be consulted if any territory is going to be ceded to others. So now Britain is the overlord of Brunei. So they lost their sovereignty, or the Daulat. So this was more or less as predicted. The last quarter of the 19th century witnessed Brunei losing territory after territory because of the two neighbors, Brooke, Sarawak, and the Borneo Company, which is in North Borneo, present-day Sabah. Both were very predatory, wanting to seize a lot of territories from Brunei. And Britain, the Colonial Office, as well as the British Foreign Office, did not protest when Raja Charles Brooke, the second White Raja, who is the successor and the nephew of James Brooke, seized Limbang in 1890, and the BNDCC, or the British North Borneo Charter Company, ceded Lawas and also Trusan, all transferred to Sarawak, all at the expense of Brunei. Limbang was a very, very sad case for Brunei. Okay. By the first decade of the 20th century, Brunei became a component of the British Empire when the residency system was imposed. The residency system was more or less the same as what the British did in the Western Malay states, okay, where a resident will advise the Sultan and his advice had to be followed, except on issues of Islam and Malay traditions. So alas, his forewarnings came to reality. Brunei from 1888 became a protectorate of Britain, and by the close of the 19th century, all of Southeast Asia, excepting Siam, became components of Western colonial empires. So the Syair Rakis apparently was ignored by the Brunei monarch because maybe of factionalism, maybe ignorance, or they were naive. The sultans, the Temenggong, the Pengiran, were either incapable to comprehend its contents or simply ignored Syair Rakis altogether. The latter is perhaps more plausible. Although his Syair Rakis failed to forestall the fate that befell the Brunei Sultanate, Pengiran Indera Mahkota should be recognized as a visionary nobleman, as well as a patriot and a nationalist. So history honored his contribution, and that's how I see him as a national canonization of him as a historical figure. Now we go to the second canonization, which is of the Syair Rakis itself. It was a watershed. Syair Rakis is considered as a departure from the traditional to the modern. So there are the Syair Rakis. I have 12 Rakis or 12 articles with 172 stanzas in total, unevenly spread. For instance, the 12 Rakis have 24 stanzas, whereas the 10 Rakis only 4. The preamble is the longest with 33 stanzas. Okay, and all stanzas have 4 lines. Okay, that's how the format of the Syair. Okay, except one stanza has only 2 lines. Due to its form, all the 12 Rakis are interrelated to each other with a running main theme threading across the entire composition. Basically, the thesis. So basically, what Pengiran Indera Mahkota wanted was to forewarn his countrymen, especially his monarch, and not to reform. Syair Rakis, the first to transit from the traditional to the modern. Hence its unique significance, importance, and contribution to Brunei Malay literature. There are 5 features which I have seen that differentiate the Syair Rakis from its predecessors. That's before 1840s. Firstly, it deals with reality. Unlike in the past, most of these works talk about myths, talk about legends, some very supernatural things, etc. So just an example, I identified the 90. Dengarkan ibarat dagang yang bodoh, harapkan ampun bersungguh-sungguh. 4 perkara jalannya teguh, boleh jadi pekerjaan kukuh. So he's giving realistic advice of 4 conditions of a strong administration. So this is reality. He's not talking about fantasy. Inilah hari masa sekarang, carilah akal fikiran terang. Negeri bercampur Cina Astrang, tiada berkuasa berbuat garang. So he said, things are all changing, powerless to act aggressively as we please. This is directly telling the Sultan, the monarch, that you cannot do things arbitrarily because times are changing, not like in the past. Secondly, touching on and raising socio-political and socio-economic concerns and themes. This is also very realistic agenda. Negeri ini apa rundingnya, syarat dan resam pandang hukumnya. Jika lambat menjalankannya, berdirilah bijak antara tengahnya. So he said, if we don't follow legal, the Sharia and traditional customs, if there is a delay, the smart person will take advantage of the situation. Thirdly, possesses a running thesis, which is basically advice to the monarch and to his countrymen to take cognizance of the past, lest you repeat the mistakes of the past. So it's got a lot of illustrations. Fourthly, presents other perspectives besides the poets. In the past, it's always from the point of view of the poet himself, but for the Syair Rakis, it presents other perspective. For example, Bismillah itu mula karangan, gurindam bayu nama timangan. Kisah rencana dagang buangan, nestapa lara di gunung larangan. Okay, so he also have the story of a man in expatriation, which is himself, talking about himself from a third voice, on mountains hostile in desolation, etc. Fifthly, having multi-plots. A main plot is secondary or subplots. While the main plot speaks of the Brunei Sultanate's weak governance, it is compared with the Sambas Sultanate's success. So there's the subplot, the main plot. It contrasts radically with traditional compositions, which has only a single all-encompassing plot. For its novel features, Syair Rakis opened new pathways that transformed Syair in particular and the Malay literature in general, ushering in a new era, departing from pre-1840s literary works. Syair Rakis ushered in a new and modern era for Brunei Malay literature, hence it deservedly be canonized. Now we go to the conclusion of dual canonization. Having been outmaneuvered by Brooke, Pengiran Indera Mahkota penned the Syair Rakis, composed Syair Rakis to forewarn his monarch in particular and his countrymen to be cautious of foreigners, the British in particular. His celebrated Syair Rakis exhibited a nationalistic flavor, recognition of a Bruneian identity, and the preservation of the Malay Muslim Sultanate. A case of noble intentions. If only his monarch heeded his warnings, took cognizance of his advice and his guidance, and steadfastly implemented his recommendations pertaining to education, seeking advice from the learned, conscious of new solutions to new challenges, Brunei's historical trajectory might take a different path of what the Sultanate, which subsequently became weak, powerless, and loss of territories. Fittingly, a dual canonization in the final analysis, though Pengiran Indera Mahkota failed in that his thoughtful forewarnings appeared unheeded, he succeeded with his Syair Rakis, which ushered in a new and modern era for Brunei Malay literature. Therefore, fittingly, a dual canonization of poet and poem, creator and creation. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Wee. It's very interesting to me. Someone from Sarawak.
Brunei. And
No,
Brunei.
no, sorry.
You are from Sarawak. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, you're from Sarawak. Okay. Yeah, of course, they're all connected.
Yes. Just wondering, the word dagan, it also means like orang dagang could mean foreigner, no?
Yeah.
Someone
yeah, orang dagang, yeah, is also a foreigner because usually traders will come here, they travel here and there, so he also represents as a foreigner. Yeah, right.
Okay, yeah. So yeah.
Of course, when he was in Muka, of course, he was an outsider to a certain extent. Okay.
Yeah. Have you ever thought of going to Sambas?
Sorry?
Sambas. You said
Sambas in Pontianak. Yeah. There are a lot of Chinese there, actually. West Kalimantan. Sambas, Montrado, Singkang Wang. There are a lot of Chinese. Apart from the, I think the largest community of Chinese is, of course, Sarawak, of course, area.
But it doesn't have any sort of connection with Sambas kingdom at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, Sambas has a long connection with Brunei. Okay, a long connection.
Did not sort of leverage on his lineage connection?
Yeah, but the thing is, Sambas is a bit far away, and of course, later Abdul Mumin recalled him back to the court. You know, yeah. So because of circumstances, and of course, I mean, in all the royal courts, whether it's Malay, Japanese, or English or whatever, there are a lot of factions. So if you Raja Muda Hashim, of course, is the faction that Brooke wanted to use. If you, may I say, utilize for his grander vision of a Rafflesian East Indies. That was what he wanted, but because Raja Muda Hashim and his brother Badruddin, they were all slaughtered by another group, and Brooke, of course, could not execute his grand vision on Brunei. So instead, he turned more inwards towards Sarawak. So because he wanted to have a model state against the Dutch system. So these are all the political agendas of the foreigners, and Brooke was the one who, well, changed the history of North Borneo. For good or for worse, that's for historians to decide. You know.
Yeah. I will now open up the floor for questions and also comments. Yeah. So anyone who, we are a small group, so we can be more informal. Yeah. Maybe if you could unshare the screen, maybe you can see everybody. No? Anyone with some questions or comments? Have you known this figure before? Or is something new for you?
Maybe a bit too obscure of local history, too local, maybe.
Yeah. So there is no questions. Okay. Maybe I just pose another question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, when you know, Indera Mahkota went back to Brunei when Sultan Mumin became the, ascended to the throne. What was his position? Was he just a literary figure, or was he also given some sort of administrative post, or because he was given the title, but I don't know political role he played.
He was given the title in a sense, very high ranking, okay, in a sense, okay. And of course, because of that particular title, he had, in a sense, direct access to the Sultan. So he had the Sultan's ear, literally, okay. And because of that, he made a lot of enemies, which is quite normal. So other factions, of course, were envious of his position, definitely. So what happened was when there was a kind of uprising in a place outside Brunei, from the palace, they immediately suggested to Sultan Mukmin that, oh, you better send this capable person, which is Pengiran Indera Mahkota, to suppress that so-called uprising. But it was actually, well, if we call in modern day parlance, it's probably a scam, something that they already planned. So along the way, it seems that assassins killed him.
Oh.
Yeah, it was pretty sad. He was assassinated. And apparently, the story goes, they returned back and said that, oh, he drowned, which is a bit absurd that he could not swim. I mean, it is not like in Malay said, tak masuk akal lah. What do you mean he can't swim? Okay, it's unlikely. And with his men and all that, so it was an inside job in a sense that they set him up and he was murdered. So his body was brought back to Brunei, and I think the last, it was buried at the Kiangge Muslim Cemetery, which is in Bandar Seri Begawan, downtown of Bandar. Yeah, his grave is there. So it's pretty sad, because he made too many enemies. Because if the Sultan favors you, I mean, it's normal. I think it's the same everywhere. In the past, in the present, as well as in the future. Well, unfortunate. Okay. I think it's because he himself also was very straightforward person, perhaps not so politically savvy in a sense. He did not sort of counted whatever. So when once the Sultan appointed him, he did not sort of take precaution because maybe he was too trusting. He didn't suspect anything. So, well, it's a sad thing. But those things do happen, of course.
Yeah. I see that one of the in the audience, one person from the audience, Alex, asked a question.
Please.
He said, "Thanks, Dr. Wei, for this interesting talk. Can I ask where this Syair manuscript is kept?"
Sorry? Again?
He asked where this manuscript of the Syair Rakis is kept.
The Syair Rakis, the manuscript, I personally have not sort of seen it, but it is probably in the museum as well as the archives here. What I saw was the one that was translated by Pihin Jamil from the Jawi. The original is in the archives. It is in Jawi, the original script. But Pihin Jamil, well, he passed away. He was the one who translated it into Rumi and also into English. And it is a very, I suppose, not much has been done since then, about this very, to me, it's a very important document, very important for Brunei. Okay. And also, it's very important for monarchs and for administrators to always take cognizance of history. Because the illustrations he gave in the Syair Rakis are all across the region, across Southeast Asia. He took from Java, from Singapore, from other places that he knew. So these are actually real situations that they make mistakes. Okay, so it's important, like he said, you must have counsel, but you must have wise counsel. So meaning that your advisors need to be very well educated, very open-minded, aware of what's happening in the world, to give the monarch good advice or good guidance, you see. So he gave examples of not so smart counselors that in the end, the monarch made the wrong decisions because it was ill-advised, which is, of course, is true. You know? So you must surround as a leader, as a monarch, or as a president, or as prime minister. You need to be surrounded by people who are knowledgeable to give you good advice. So he gives a lot of examples, and those examples are real examples. Well, unfortunately, it was not taken seriously and all that.
Okay. Is there any other question or comment? If not, I see that we are 4 o'clock, so maybe we call it a day.
Okay.
So on behalf of MBRAS and also on behalf of the audience, I'd like to thank Prof. Ooi for introducing us to important literary figure and also the literature of Syair Rakis. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you to all of you.